Hey, Rabbi in the kitchen. We are going into Shabbat Hanukkah. It is Friday afternoon, and I have got a lot of things to cook. I'm going to be making some curries for tomorrow's lunch, and among them I'm going to include something not necessarily considered a curry, something definitely not Indian. I'm going to make molé. So, let's get started. I'm going to be making quite a few different curries together, including some Indian ones and including the molé, some dal, some sag paneer. I'm going to make sure that I have enough of a flavor base for all of them, so I'm going to start off with 3 onions, this handful of garlic, and this ginger. We're going to start off by chopping up an onion. I always like to take off the very most outer layer so that I can get rid of the skin as quickly and as easily as possible. None of this gets really wasted in our house. It either goes into soup stock or it just becomes compost to grow other nice things. Come back. I like to dice the onion like this because this way it could be sort of mashed up by hand into smaller pieces, along with the ginger and the garlic. Time to put this into a bowl. Do the same thing with the other 2 onions. It's not cooking if you don't have garlic. I poor kids, they might even end up with garlic in their cereal if I'm not careful. You can either chop up the garlic like I'm doing right now, or if you want to express the flavor of the garlic a little bit, it's better to grind the garlic. That way some of the juices come out and soaks through the rest of the flavor base, the rest of the onions, the ginger. We're going to grate the ginger, so we're not really going to lose anything. And anytime you saute garlic, you end up with some nice flavor. This is a really nice ginger grater that I got in Japan, Shoga Roshi. It's really nice because it's got little studs on the bottom which aren't going to cut your fingers if you grate too hard, and it's bowl-shaped enough to catch the juices. But anything will work. Let's grate that ginger nicely. So now all of that goes into the skillet. I put in some ghee. You can use any sort of cooking oil. Butter will work, olive oil will work. Clarified butter, or ghee, G-H-E-E, is really the best thing if you're going to be making Indian curries. If you're going to be making molé, olive oil is better. I use the mix of both since I'm making both kinds of curries. So, I've got 2 skillets going. I've only got one lid at the moment, the other one broke. It is best to cover the sauté so as to catch the juices. Ooh, this one's coming along nicely. It is almost time to add the curry flavors, the curry base. This is my spice base for the mole. I've got about a 1/4 cup of cocoa powder in here, along with some heavy sprinklings of cayenne pepper, a lot of oregano, some salt, maybe about a teaspoon of salt, and I've got about 2 teaspoons each of cumin, cinnamon, nutmeg, and cardamom. Okay, I can see that it's starting to get kind of brown, kind of crisp. Now that's the time to lower the flame all the way down, or even possibly turn it off altogether. I'm going to add the spice base to the sauté. This will be my flavor base for the mole. Alright, I can see that the spice base is not quite incorporating fully into the sauté. Not a problem. Add some oil. Just a little bit of olive oil here. should do it. I'm going to need to use this skillet, but it still keeps some of the molé flavors in it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to transfer some of this molé sauté into a bowl to add back later. So one big difference between an Indian curry and a molé is the fact that the molé is going to use a roux. You're going to have to incorporate your oily flavor base with some flour and add some broth to it. Oh, I don't have any broth yet. What am I going to do? I'll make some broth. What kind of broth will I make? I'm going to make some Japanese-style dashi. That'll help me make my miso soup for tonight. And if you ever want to know how to make miso soup, you can check out that video too at Rabbi in the Kitchen. One dry strip of kombu could be enough to make the broth on its own, but we'll add a couple of other things. Traditionally, a dashi will be made up of kombu, dry shiitake mushroom, maybe just one, and some bonito flakes, which are very hard to get textured. Happens I've got a guy, so we'll have the kombu. If you want to find the kombu hechshered, you can buy it through Eden brand, but really kombu doesn't need a hechsher. Now, when I buy dry shiitake, I like to break off the stems because they're kind of tough and hard to eat, but they are very good for making a flavor base. So I'm going to throw in maybe, I don't know, let's say 3 shiitake stems. Here's some katsuobushi, some bonito flakes that I just ground. Like I said, it's very, very difficult to find these things under rabbinical supervision. It happens that I know a rabbi who lives in Japan and speaks Japanese, and from time to time we'll go and supervise a batch. Alright, so I've got my kombu, the seaweed, the shiitake mushroom stems, and the katsuobushi, the bonito flakes. Now we add water. And just boil this for a while. I got 3 serrano peppers, nicely chopped up. 1 red bell pepper. A couple of cherry bomb peppers. And some mushrooms. I'm going to use eringi, or king trumpet mushrooms. Although you could use any. So while off camera, I chopped all of these things up. We're sitting in here. So off camera, I chopped those things up. The bell peppers, the mushrooms, the cherry bomb peppers, which are mild but flavorful, and the serrano peppers, which are hopefully going to pack some fire. We're going to saute these in olive oil, and then we're going to start slicing up our fish while these are going. Listen to that sizzle. We're going to have to cover that for a while so it starts down. We don't want to lose any juices. So I've removed the peppers and mushrooms from the skillet, and now I'm working on cooking the fish somewhat. I've got here a combination of black cod and salmon. Off camera, I had to debone and remove some of the skin. I like to keep some of the skin around. My wife and I disagree on whether or not the skin is tasty. I like to keep it around. But we're going to sort of cook it at least on the outside, and then remove this, and then we're going to start turning our molé itself into a roux. Once we've got that going, we're going to add the other foods that we've already sauteed. Okay, so we've got the fish and we've got the sauteed peppers and mushrooms all in a bowl sitting on the side. And I reserved some of the juice that came out of the fish and poured it into this mug with a bit of the broth that I've been making. Now, we've got some hot pepper infused olive oil sitting in the skillet that I took off of the pepper saute. And we've got our molé curry base sitting around, letting all this mix together. Now we're going to add some flour, and add some broth, add some flour, add some broth, and so on. This is about, I'd say 3 heaping spoonfuls like this one. This is close to a tablespoon, being mixed in with all of the oil. oil that we used for the sauteing, the oil that we used for the flavor base, and all that flour is being mixed up together. We're making a roux. There we go. All of the fish and peppers and mushrooms are nicely covered and incorporated into that beautifully spicy, chocolatey, flavorful molé sauce. And once more for emphasis, I'm going to let this simmer for a while on a very low flame. Here it is. Fish molé. Shabbat shalom.